Celebrate the feast of St. John the Evangelist, the Apostle who was the beloved disciple of our Lord, beloved by our Lord. Our Lord himself had a special love for St. John because of his innocence, his purity, and his great love. And that great love of St. John the Apostle attracted him to St. John the Baptist, who had great love for Jesus too. He must have immediately was attracted by St. John the Baptist, and he went and became his disciple and followed the advice of St. John the Baptist to go and follow Jesus. And he went and found Jesus, and it was his treasure, his everything. He gave himself to Jesus right away, one of the first apostles to follow Jesus, and loved him from the first. And he was young, who knows how old, in his late teens or early 20s, and lived till, they say, about 100 years old, and wrote his gospel, wrote the 3 letters of, we have the New Testament, and the book of the Apocalypse, the Evangelist, St. John the Evangelist. The one who was following Jesus, followed him faithfully and loved him so much. He was the one that rested his head on the chest of our Lord during his meals, especially at the Last Supper, the one who asked our Lord who was to betray him. He knew with his immense love for Jesus, that he knew it was not himself. Like the other apostles were kind of questioning whether it might even be them. But not St. John, who loved Jesus too much and followed him even after he ran away when Jesus was arrested. He did run away from fear, but came back immediately and followed Jesus as he was being led to his execution, his sentence of condemnation. It was with Peter in the house of Caiaphas, and as soon as he found out our Lord was condemned, he went to Our Lady to go and be with her, to comfort her, but also to follow her, to bring her safely through the crowds and to see Jesus. She wanted to suffer with Jesus, and so she needed that help of St. John. So John followed that inspiration to go to Our Lady and to bring her and to be with her and to be with Jesus, to suffer the humiliation of the crowds and to be with him at the cross. And he, because of his faithfulness, received the greatest reward, is to have Our Lady with him, to take her into his home literally, but also more especially into his heart. And there he lived in intimate communion with Our Lady, and maybe even greater than with our Lord, because he was alone with her and could learn from her holiness. He wasn't alone all the time with our Lord having to share his time with the other apostles. So St. John really grew more and more in holiness in the company of Our Lady until Our Lady died. So St. John was very, very blessed, and was the one to teach us to love in his gospel, the eagle, we say, with sword and wisdom in his gospel, and in the book of the Apocalypse. It teaches us great wisdom in the mysteries of God, but it teaches us especially love in his 3 letters, and we bring that virtue away with our reflection on the life of St. John. We must too grow in love, the queen, the king of all the virtues. As we meditate in this Christmas time, the virtue of humility, the humility of God in the stable, we also want to meditate on love, which is the greatest, or the umbrella of all the virtues, the most important, the one virtue that needs to shine in our heart, in our life, in our thinking. Love must reign, really must. We can't. It's not an optional virtue that we want to be among our important things. It's the number one virtue, and it must shine and grow. We must learn how to love God first, and love our neighbor, and all the different aspects and fruits of manifestations of love. We must learn them all and show them kindness and goodness. The goodness of God which makes us love Him, the goodness of God, and it's that goodness we want to spread and show to our neighbor, to be good to our neighbor, to show goodness to our neighbor, and it doesn't matter what they do to us, we can always do good to them. So we have to have that disposition of goodness, which is love, disposition of love to everyone, to forgive, to be kind, to reach out, and to shed goodness and spread it everywhere, spread it to our family members, those we work with, those who we come and meet, and even those we don't know. We must pray for them and sacrifice and offer up our work and sacrifices and difficulties for our neighbors who need help, just like you and I do on our path to salvation and happiness. So we must grow in love and pray for it and seek it and long for it and live it, and ask Our Lady and St. John the Evangelist to teach us and to inspire us to practice this most important virtue.